Welcome to this another monthly installment of the United Way Guaranteed Income Program webinar in partnership with Safe Credit Union, which has been our banking partner for cohorts 2 and 3, as well as just also providing this really invaluable resource. And I want to encourage you, if you are just joining this for the first time, we do have some other recorded sessions that happened previously over the last few months. I think we have 3 of them in total. I'll be glad to, once this one is edited, also to send out links to those. And then we want to encourage you to come and participate in future webinar sessions. We'll have these every month for, I don't know, the next 10 years, Miriam, is that right? Something like that? No, maybe
yeah, I wasn't a part of that meeting. I just got noticed.
Yeah, you just got the, yeah. But anyways, it's just a part of United Way and Safe Credit Unions. It's a reflection of our 2 organizations, our commitment to not only, we're glad that you are being provided these resources, or for those who just were selected for cohort 3 that you will be receiving in another little over a month and a half, but also to support you with providing you with some really great content related to financial management, personal financial management, so that while you're receiving this added income, hopefully you're learning some great things that is going to help you make really strong progress in your overall finances, so that by the time those payments end, you're in a much better place. And I know I've just been speaking to a good number of you. I've heard lots of great stories of people already doing that, putting into practice some of the tips that they've learned from these presentations. So all I will say in terms of housekeeping, let me see, there's the housekeeping items. You can see that on the screen. Before we get into the webinar housekeeping items, I'll just say that especially for our cohort 3 folks, if there's any brand new folks who are just joining us for the first time, welcome. Keep plugging away on taking those steps. I know that it can get a little complicated. Just reach out to Fatima and I. Fatima will join us at a future webinar as well, and you all will get a chance to meet her. She just joined our team about 2 weeks ago, actually on the 1st of November. So she's jumped right in and has been helping out a lot of you folks. And she's really loved it. So, wait a minute, she's here. Oh my gosh, she's here. But okay, wonderful. Well, you can hear her voice. She's not one of our well, actually, we can probably make her a co-host, can't we?
Yeah, I can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Kurt, I thought that you were logging in through something else because it says Kurt.
Yeah.
On Fatima's
Oh God, what?
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
I think I used the personal link that he has on the calendar because it wasn't giving me an option with the Zoom. So
there we go.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if
go ahead and introduce yourself, Fatima. And there's my little one poking in. Sorry.
Very good.
Hello, everyone. My name is Fatima. So I newly joined the Guaranteed Income Program as the administrator. And if you have any questions, of course, I have been talking with some of you regarding benefits counseling. Do feel free to email me or text me if you've received a text or a call from me, if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Fatima. Miriam, this is a big week for Safe Credit Union because we have the webinar tonight, and then tomorrow night and Saturday night we have events for opening up accounts for cohort 3. So very busy week with United Way and Safe Credit Union and our collaboration. For those of you who may be joining with cohort 3, I just sent an email not too long ago just letting you know that we still have some slots available for tomorrow night from 6 to 8, and slots available on Sunday from noon to 2. So all of our cohort 2 veterans, you've already been down this road before, but welcome our new members of the Guaranteed Income Program. With that said, I think we've chatted enough. Let's go ahead and dive into this. So Miriam, go ahead and take it away, and we'll disappear off the screen and you can share, and we're looking forward to learning tonight.
Okay, and then we have a question in the chat about location for tomorrow. I don't know if you want to add
Oh,
that real
thank you
quick.
for mentioning that. So for those of you who have signed up to come to the Safe Credit Union account opening event tomorrow night, that will be at United Way. And in our address, so what I'll do is I will just drop a link to the address in the chat in the next few minutes. But it was on the sign up sheet as well. And you can always find our address every time you find an email from Fatima or I. You look right below our email signature, you'll see it there as well. But it's in Rancho Cordova. And then next Saturday, we'll be out at La Familia at their 33rd Street location. I will drop that location in the chat as soon as we get started as well for those of you who are coming to those events.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay. Oh, thank you. We're
There
getting,
she goes. See?
there we go. Yay for the third person.
Yeah.
House
So,
is out. Okay. So welcome everyone. Again, thank you so much for being here. I know it's late at night. And the last thing we probably want to talk is about finances. So this presentation, before we get started, a few housekeeping items regarding the webinar. As you may have already noticed, and if this is the first time that you've participated in one of these webinars, all participants have been placed on mute and taken off of camera. However, if you do wish to engage at all throughout this presentation, feel free to utilize that chat box, which is located at the bottom of your screen. If you feel more comfortable asking questions anonymously, you have the availability to do so through our Q&A box, which is also located at the bottom of the screen. So just input your question and then make sure you check off that anonymous box before you submit your question. So with that, today or tonight, we're going to talk about how to advance your budget. So we're going to talk about different tools and tips and techniques that you can utilize if you are already on your path of budgeting. We do have some questions again in the chat. So lots of interest, and so
yeah.
whatever is not covered out, either in the chat box throughout this presentation, Kurt will be sure to cover that also prior to us ending, just so you make sure that you whatever questions are asked do not go unanswered.
Yeah, and I was just going to jump in. Some of them are some practical questions about the program, so don't worry about those. We'll do our best to field them really quick. But other than that, folks, if you do have some more questions, specifically cohort 3 folks, just shoot an email if you could to Fatima and I, and we'll be glad to answer those. Well, we're working as we speak, so we'll probably see the emails as well right now. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely fire off those emails, because once this webinar closes, the chat is not saved, or it will take a little bit of time for Fatima and Kurt to get those questions to them. So go ahead and send those emails out to them, or send them a message directly through the chat now. Okay, so real quick, because I do know that we have a few people that have just gotten started with their cohort, and they might have not been privy to a few of the webinars that we've had in the past. When it comes to a budget, it's really important that you know your why. If you do not have a why in mind as you are starting your financial journey, it's really hard for you to remain consistent, and it's really hard for you to stay motivated. Without that motivation, it's really easy for life to allow you to get deterred from whatever goal you might have had initially, or whatever habit that you wanted to build, if there's no motivation there. So it's really important that you have your why in the forefront of your mind as you begin this journey. It's really important also that you know what your financial situation is. And what I mean by that is, you know clearly where your income is coming from, you know what your expenses look like. You have everything itemized and listed out, and you have identified if you are spending more than what you're making, and or if you are able to either grow your savings or pay off debt a little bit more. Your budget is essentially going to be your blueprint to your financial success. So it's really important that you identify the two key components: your income and your expenses. When it comes to your income, it's not just money that you are earning through employment. It's also things like the guaranteed income program. It's funds that you might be receiving from the government, child support, alimony, any kind of bonuses that you're getting at work, if you found $20 on the ground, you are deeming all of that as income. It's really important also to have your savings account separated. You need to have it separate from your checking account and understand that your savings account is meant just for that, your savings, to meet any type of savings goals that you wish to accomplish, whether they be short-term, mid-term, or long-term goals. Those should have a special account where you can be able to save for them without it hindering on your daily financial responsibilities. When it comes to your budget, it's really important that you're able to identify how to reduce expenses to maximize that budget. So unnecessary kinds of spending is definitely important to be able to identify so that you can weed those out and acquire more money into your savings account or towards your debts, or be able to move around money in areas where you might feel as though you're a little bit tight when it comes to making sure that you're fulfilling those financial responsibilities. So as we advance our budget, it's really important that we understand all of these key components. So in the chat box, let's go ahead and answer this question. What type of budget system are you currently using, if you are using any at all? And this is a safe zone, so there is zero judgment that takes place in any of these webinars. So if you do not have a budget system, go ahead and identify that. If you do, tell us what works best for you. Short and sweet. I'll give you a couple of seconds to be able to do that. Okay. All right. So it's important that you know that as you go on to your budgeting journey, that you are going to be shown, or you're going to run across different types of budgeting techniques and tips that might be working for the person who's illustrating whatever article you're reading or whatever friend you're talking to. When it comes to a budget, it's really important to understand that whatever system might be working for another person might not work for you. And the reason why I say that is because all of our expenses, our lifestyles, our spending habits are very different from one another, and they're very unique to us. So the budget should mimic that. So it should mirror what our lifestyles look like. Budget is all trial and error. When it comes to coming up with a system that you feel like you might have down, and then there's a huge life event that happens, that system might no longer work for you. And that's okay. Again, budgeting is all about trial and error. It's all about understanding how to adjust and pivot. Once you build out that initial habit of budgeting, you'll be able to identify things that did work, things that you might need to adjust, and how you move forward from there. The key thing when it comes to a budget is being able to move forward and understand that, you've done it once, you can do it again. All right. So one of the techniques, and we're going to throw out a lot of different types of budgets here, a lot of different resources. So if you have any questions specifically about certain ones, feel free to save those or put them in the Q&A box so that I can filter those throughout the end of this presentation. So one of the most common forms of budgeting is a zero-based budget. And what I mean by a zero-based budget is that you're literally allocating dollar for dollar every last cent that you have towards financial responsibilities. And at the end of whatever billing or budgeting cycle you're in, you're most likely going to end up with a zero balance at the end of it, because you've literally allotted every single cent towards something or towards some sort of responsibility or towards maybe your savings account or towards your debts. So this one tends to be the most common. It's probably one that we use without trying to use it, especially if we are living paycheck to paycheck. It's very easy for somebody to, without having to track or without having to process or be mindful of what's in their account, to just track, am I getting to zero? How close am I at to zero? So the pros of a zero-based balance or budget, if you are using it the way that it's intended, meaning that you're keeping track of your purchases, that you're understanding what your bills are on a regular basis, that you're allocating the right amount of money. If you are using it the way that it's intended, it can help you take total control of your money, because only you are able to allocate certain dollar figures towards certain categories of your spending. It does definitely make it difficult to overspend unless you are shooting a high when it comes to certain categories, and you might end up having to spend less money. We think about PG&E or utilities. Usually a lot of people think worst case scenario, so they allocate more money in those areas since they are in a flexible type of spending when it comes to these types of bills, and they can't really predict exactly what their bill is going to look like every single time. So a lot of people tend to shoot high, and sometimes their bill comes out a little bit less than what they expected it to be. So you have a little bit more money, but essentially it is more difficult to overspend in this category. It is harder, in the same breath, it is harder to do unplanned spending. So if there is an unforeseen circumstance that might arise, or a bill that you just didn't see coming, or you just didn't plan out enough time to be able to save for that, you can risk going into a little bit of debt and or trying to quickly pivot where you're spending money and how much you're spending money in certain areas. It's really important that you do, when it comes to any type of budget, that you do have some sort of money going towards a savings if at all possible, so that there is some sort of a cushion to save you from these kinds of instances where you're not necessarily planning for the unexpected to happen. You create your own rules when it comes to a zero-based budget. So you are identifying where you're going to spend, how often you're going to spend, and how much you're going to spend in certain categories. Some of the cons include it's time consuming. So if you are a person who is managing all of the expenses in the household, it can really become time consuming when it comes to allocating certain amounts of money towards certain things, especially if we are paying towards various different entities when it comes to the groceries, the gas, the car insurance, the car bill, the rent or the mortgage, what spending money to fill the home when it comes to food or luxury items, whatever the case is. There's a lot of spending that happens on a regular basis. So this kind of plan can become a little bit cumbersome if you do not have a foolproof system down. You must be able to monitor your transactions at all times. The tricky part when it comes to a lot of, or working with financial institutions and relying on your account or your financial institution to tell you exactly how much money you have in real time isn't the norm. When it comes to bills that are processing, meaning that you are submitting a bill through their online services, sometimes it can take up to 24 hours for that bill to process, and or if you're paying it on a Friday, you most likely will not have that bill processed through your account until the following Tuesday. So this is where you have to be able to have some sort of a tracking system that's not solely reliant on your financial institution telling you in real time how much money you have and expecting that to actually be the money that you have. A good example of that is I paid for my mortgage on Friday. I am not going to see that bill come out of my account most likely until tomorrow or on Wednesday, especially because there was a holiday. So I have to, although I'm seeing a certain amount of money in my account, I have to make sure in my head, and also that I'm communicating it with my husband who shares the account with me, that the money that he sees in there is not the money that we actually have available to us. Another thing when it comes to the zero-based budget is that really is no wiggle room. You have to be able to understand that the savings is really important when it comes to pivoting and having a really good budget. One rule that you can utilize in conjunction with the zero-based balance is maybe utilizing something like the 40-40-20 rule. Now, there is a rule called the 50-30-20, and we'll go over that in a little bit later, which is a more common rule, but this is one that people tend to utilize. And what it is it's an allocation of discretionary income. 40% goes towards savings, 40% goes towards debts, and 20% goes towards emergencies. So this is a part of the discretionary and not so much the fixed expenses that you have, like your food, your shelter, your clothing, your transportation. So this is on the other side of that. It's recommended, again, to add this to the zero-based balance if you want an idea of how much you should be applying towards certain expenditures. So what tools are you using? Go ahead and answer that question in the chat box. When it comes to tracking your finances, what are you utilizing? Somebody said that they have their budget system by paper and pen, which is great because I have that too. I have multiple systems that I utilize to make sure that I am keeping up to budget. My husband has several systems. So what system tends to work the best for you? Is it pen and paper? Is it an Excel spreadsheet? Is it relying on your financial institution or maybe another third-party entity? Go ahead and add those in the chat. Ooh, Rocket Money. Okay. Write down, post it where you can see it every day. Okay, that's a really good one. I'm very much an out of sight, out of mind person. So if it's not in my line of sight, I am not focused on it. So this is actually a really good one, especially if you share that mentality. All right, pen and paper. Yep. You use a calculator to write down bills. I do the same thing. So one of the things that I do also when it comes to utilizing pen and paper is I have a calendar system. So I print out a calendar on a piece of paper, write down my bills, and I'm making sure that I identify when our income is coming in and what bills we have that payment cycle. And I identify how much money is left over. And then we kind of break down what our discretionary spending looks like. So what does it look like for us to be able to put money towards our savings or more towards our debts if possible? That's something that works for me. It's definitely not something that works for my husband. He is very much an Excel spreadsheet type of person. I am very much not. So even though our money comes from the same place, we definitely have a different budgeting style when it comes to tracking down what our payments look like. So when it comes to financial institutions and online banking, I touched on this earlier about how payments don't necessarily go or process in real time to show you how much money you actually have, especially if certain bills are processing. So it's really important to check out what your financial institution has available to you. What benefits can they provide you as either a member, if you're a member of a credit union, which I'm assuming some of you will be soon if you're not already, and or if you're a customer, so meaning you have an account at a larger bank like Wells Fargo or Bank of America or Chase. Understanding what it means to be a valued member or customer, identifying if there are free benefits like free with membership, whether that means checking or it means a savings account without any contingencies, meaning you do not have to have a certain amount directly deposited into your account so you do not receive a fee, or a certain amount allotted in your savings account so that they do not give you a convenience fee as well. Make sure that that financial institution, which a lot of them do, especially now with how advanced technology is, play around with what their mobile app looks like or their desktop application looks like. See what their budgeting systems can offer you in terms of either creating a goal and identifying where you want to spend and how much you want to spend money on. create tax alerts. This is something that I have set up for myself, especially if we go below a certain threshold. I want to know in real time if we have certain, if we've reached a certain threshold that I might not be comfortable with, and therefore I need to move money over into our checking account, just in case there was a bill I didn't account for and it processes without me knowing. Another benefit, if you do belong to a credit union or you have an account somewhere else, is to check out if they can create goal setting or tracking systems. You obviously want all of these conveniences in-house. So it's ideal to identify a financial institution that can provide you all of these things without having to rely on third-party applications to do it for you. The tricky part when it comes to third-party applications and creating budgeting systems with them, although they are very great resources, and I will not deny that there are some resources that these third-party mobile applications or websites can offer a consumer when it comes to creating budgeting tactics for the consumer that maybe some financial institution systems do not have. Although they do provide great resources, they also have a smidge of risk when it comes to your account information being compromised, because a lot of these types of applications do require you to input your banking information in order for them to be able to track your money the way that you're wanting it to. So there is a little bit of risk when it comes to that, because you are relying on a third-party application that could potentially be breached to gain access to your money. But when we talk about good resources when it comes to mobile apps, is there are several out there. One of the first ones that we're going to talk about is You Need a Budget, or otherwise known as YNAB mobile app. In no order are we saying that this one's the best out of the rest of them that we're going to be listing out. This is just the first one that we're going to talk about. So when it comes to the convenience of this one, there is a fee associated with it. So I don't know how much of a convenience it actually is to individuals. These dollar figures definitely could have changed within the last few months that we updated this presentation. So just keep that in mind. You do have the ability to either make a payment either per year or per month if your budget allows for you to choose one or the other. It does, again, connect to your financial institution. So that means that they are going to be reliant on you giving them certain personal information in order for them to be able to gain access to the budget the way that it's supposed to. It allows you to set goals in certain categories. So if you want to break it down at a high level, or if you want to be a little bit more granular, this kind of app allows you to do that. It also allows you to create some budgeting alerts that force action, meaning it can tell you, hey, you spent a certain amount of money today, but you didn't put any in savings like you had set a goal for by the end of the week. Try to supplement your Starbucks run of a $5 coffee to go towards your savings account this week. It'll give you some motivational things to keep you going and keep whatever goals or budgets you have set in the forefront of your mind. So that's always good, especially if somebody needs reinforcement. This is the type of app that allows for that. It does allow you to identify where money is left over and gives you some ideas on maybe where you can put that remaining money. Maybe if you fell short in certain categories or you spent high in certain categories, it can help you map out what the next pay period or expense cycle can look like. It also allows you to balance the money that you have and not the money that you expect. So it is very realistic with the numbers that are in its app versus the dollar figure that you might be predicting you might get. When we think about paychecks and stuff, if you're not a salaried employee and your hours fluctuate, it's very easy for us to fortune tell how much money we might be getting this next go around, or hope that we're maybe going to get a certain amount in our tax return and without even doing our taxes yet. So this app allows us to not do that, to not set ourselves up for potential disappointment. The next app that we're going to talk about is called the EveryDollar mobile app. So when it comes to the EveryDollar mobile app, there is a free feature, but as we know, when it comes to apps that provide you with a free-based type of service, there usually comes a little bit of contingencies with it, like either extra ads. The features might not be something that you're attracted to in terms of what use you would have for them. And then they have the Plus, which does require a lot of money I believe per year for you to be able to buy into this service. Obviously, this then opens up a lot more functions when it comes to the services that they're willing to provide you for a price versus free of charge. This is an idea. This kind of app is ideal for a zero-based budget because it does function that way, where you are zeroing out your dollars at the end of the month or at the end of every expense cycle. It takes less than 10 minutes to set up your budget, meaning that it's probably aggregating a lot of the categories based on some of the answers that you initially answer based off of their questions. Creates transactions for each time you spend, meaning that it may predict how much money you can spend in certain stores based off of your habits that you have instilled already in the app. So it's aggregating a lot of this dollar amounts that you have built a pattern with. With the paid version of this app, you can connect to your financial institution. I do like that this one isn't allowing you to connect your financial institution to the free one. To me, it's like there's a firewall that might or might not be there when it comes to the free version versus, the paid version, which you would expect a certain level of security on the paid version. So when it comes to different budget types, we're gonna bounce around from budget types to different types of mobile apps. So just bear with me a little bit as we go through this roller coaster together. There is also a budget type along with the zero-based that is called the allocation budget. If you are on TikTok or any kind of social media, you will identify the allocation budget as the envelope method. When it comes to the envelope method, there are some pros to this as well as some cons. So first and foremost, the pros are that it does allow you, just like the zero-based, to take control of your money. You are identifying how much money you want to spend in which areas and how often. So this one does definitely make it a little bit more difficult to overspend, especially because you are physically writing on an envelope how much money you want to spend in certain categories. And that's how much money you have in that envelope to spend. So once it's gone, it's gone. Again, just like the zero-based budget, this one does not allow for a lot of inconveniences to take place in your life unless one of those envelopes is allocated towards maybe your savings or some discretionary spending that you can move money around. When it comes to the cons, it is time consuming because obviously, again, you're collecting your envelopes, you're putting the money in there, you're identifying how much money you want to put in each envelope, what those categories are, and what those dollar amounts are. You definitely have to monitor your transactions, especially if they are cash-based. So those envelopes most likely will stick with you all the time, just so you're aware of how much money is left in them. There is no wiggle room, again, when it comes to this one, just like the zero-based budget, unless you're putting money away in discretionary spending or in a savings account. It does make it very much impossible to be able to take care of yourself if there were unexpected situations that were to arise. Some budgeting apps that might help with this outside of the envelope method, but more or less creating categories for yourself, could be through the Good Budget mobile app. So like the app that we previously talked about, this is a free basic allotment. You do have two different options. You can either use the free version of this, which is very limited in what you can do with the app, and then there is the plus version of this, which does have a fee per month in order to be utilize their elevated services. It does help you with allocation or the envelope method, so it's creating these categories for you, and you're able to identify how much money you're going to spend in each of these. Multiple users are actually allowed to be on one budget. So if you're in a partnership or your family is in on whatever budget you're creating, they can all play a part in getting information in real time about where you guys are spending money. There can be alerts set up, and everyone can hold each other accountable. So this is a really good one, especially if you need an accountability buddy. I know I do need my accountability buddy. If not, both of us would kind of be lost when it comes to our finances. This one does not have a financial institution abilities, so meaning that they are not going to ask you for your personal information. So this is more or less something that you would utilize as a practice for yourself. So if you are like me and several others that were in the chat saying that they use pen and paper, this is not going to be an issue of needing to connect to your account with this mobile app. It's more or less just a tracking resource for yourself and for those who you want in on that financial journey with you. So as I mentioned before, we talked about the 40-40-20 rule. Well, this is the 50-30-20 rule. And the 50-30-20 rule really does allow you to balance out a certain formula when it comes to your net income. It allows you, especially if you are starting your budgeting journey, to identify how much money should go where and how often. When it comes to the 50-30-20 rule, this is actually one that we tend to bolster when it comes to talking to our younger audience, again, because it's the easiest to navigate. So based off of your net income, 50% of that net income goes towards your needs. So this is all of the things that you need in order to get by, whether that be your transportation, your home, your groceries, your basic necessities when it comes to grooming and clothing. All of that falls under the 50%. And then because we are not living to work, we are working to live. We still want to be able to enjoy ourselves with our hard-earned money. 30% of that should go towards your wants. So this is maybe that extra pair of shoes that you might not need, but you want. That is, maybe you've had a really stressful day at work and you have no intention in cooking. You decide you want to buy takeout, that 30% will fall under there. Or that purchase will fall under the 30%. Your entertainment needs, all of that will fall under the 30%. Then we have our 20%, and our 20% is split up in between our savings and our debts. So when it comes to that, ideally we want to obviously save more than we're spending, but as we are adults and we know that sometimes we have to borrow money, that is where the allotment of paying off your debt goes. Now, obviously you don't want to go beyond the 20% of debt, but if you are in that situation, this is really going to help you, along with building out a budget and a spending habit, get back to below that 20%. It's going to help you build out a plan because it's going to show you in real time how much you're spending in certain areas and where you can move money around, and help you create a certain savings timeline to get over whatever debts you might have to go back underneath that 20%. That is the 50-30-20 rule. Now, when it comes to the 50-30-20 rule, the pros are that there are 3 categories that you have to deal with. So it's a lot less granular, it's a lot less time consuming. Another pro is that they're big percentages for wants. 30% for wants is a lot, but that's great because it allows us to enjoy our hard-earned money, and it helps us identify where we really want to spend money on, what makes us happy. It's a simple plan to maintain. There are 3 categories again that you have to focus on, and although our expenses are high when it comes to the amount of places or the volume of spending that we have to do, the amount of categories really just allow us to throw a lot in rather than at a granular level where you're trying to figure out what category specifically your certain purchase fit into. I know that for myself, I tend to buy my groceries either at Walmart or at Target, and I'm not just buying groceries at these stores, I'm also buying other supplies that we might need for our household or for our little ones, and that can become a little bit cumbersome, especially if we're trying to categorize what the expense is. It's not necessarily falling under groceries if I also included a pair of clothes for my little ones. So this tends to be a really easy one for somebody to follow because you're not really having to go down to the small level and itemize as much. Some cons about this is it is easy to overspend. I will definitely give you that one when it comes to cons, especially because it is so easy to throw in certain expenses into one bucket and just be okay with it. Because there are very little buckets that you have to focus on. So unless you really are keeping track of your expenses and you're keeping track of where you're at when it comes to the income that you're bringing in versus the expenses that are going out, it is an easy one to be able to create an oversight and therefore spend more than what you're bringing in. Another con is that only 20% is going towards savings, and that might not be the full 20% because remember, this is split in between your debts and towards your savings. That might not be a con for a lot of people, in all honesty, because a lot of us are probably not saving 10% or more in savings. Some of us might be saving less, and that's okay. In my opinion, I am of the mindset that saving something, even if it's a little bit, and even if it's not as often, is better than not saving at all, as long as you are keeping the money there and you're using it for what it is intended for, whether that be a savings goal that you have, or maybe you're creating an emergency savings cushion for yourself. The next app is our Mint mobile app. So I'm sure a lot of people have heard of this one because this has been a really popular one over the past several years when it comes to keeping track of your finances and creating certain budgets. So this is technically like what they call the gold standard of tracking apps. There is a free this is a free service that you can utilize unless you want like the bolstered one. I haven't seen anything that this one can't do for me for free compared to me having to go and pay for these services somewhere else. So it's definitely one worth looking into. It gives you automatic updates, meaning that it is creating a real-time capture a screenshot of what your finances look like, meaning that you are connecting your account to this specific one. So definitely keep that in mind as you, if you decide to go with this option. It allows you to set categories and it allows you to track your bills. So if you're not doing this already on your financial institution app, this is going to do it for you. It might give you alerts. Some financial institution apps are limited and they are not as high in technology, or their features aren't the greatest or most up to date. So if you do find that that is the case, try out something like Mint mobile app to see if it's something that will work for you. Again, I just caution you about connecting your personal information to these types of accounts. Does definitely help you set budget alerts, and it allows you free credit score and score monitoring. Now, I haven't tried this feature out, so I don't know how reliable that feature is. What I will say is that also Credit Karma does provide you with free credit score, or that's what they advertise. And in fact, the credit score that they show you, although it is a valid credit score, it is not the scoring model that most lenders use to approve you for loans. So Credit Karma provides you with what's called a Vantage score. So I'm not sure if Mint mobile app is also providing you with a free credit score as a Vantage score and not a FICO score. So FICO score is what we want to look for rather than the Vantage score. Another thing is if you are trying to monitor your credit reports, which you should do at least annually, there are many other resources that you can utilize, like annualcreditreport.com, that as of today allows you to pull from all three major credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, for free. So every 7 days on a revolving basis, they allow you to pull your credit reports for free. This is a government-ran website that provides you this service without any penalty to you. So another solution when it comes to budgeting is the 60% solution. So what this is more or less a saving model, which allows you to Save for long-term, short-term, and midterm goals. So 60% is committed towards your expenses. And then the other 10% could be towards your retirement. Another 10% could be towards long-term certificates, type of savings accounts or saving vehicles. The other 10% could be towards short-term saving vehicles like a short-term certificate or a money market account. And then the last 10% is meant for fun. So this is something that if somebody is trying to bolster their savings, it's a really good solution for them to utilize because it really does map out how much money based off of your net income should go towards what. And again, I know this is a lot of information, so feel free to ask me questions at any time. I might not stop because I might not see it on my screen, but don't worry, your questions will be answered. So some of the pros of this type of saving solution is it's very easy to use and it's very easy to automate. Just like the 50-30-20 rule, although there are more categories here, they're more saving specific categories. So you're not having to worry about what category you should put in certain expenses. The 60% is that whole bucket when it comes to fixed expenses, discretionary expenses, and flexible expenses. Another pro is that it creates a lot of room for savings. Again, it's 30% of this solution that is going towards savings. So that's definitely more than the 50-30-20 rule. Some cons associated with this is that it may create the urge not to track it all because the budget of that 60% is so big that you're not necessarily having to manage if you're overspending in certain categories until it's too late. So it might also be something that is difficult to establish initially, especially if you are somebody who is just starting your savings journey. I would definitely limit how much you're putting in there rather than going head first and then having to pull money out of your savings because you estimated how much you can actually put into that bucket. So another mobile app that you can utilize is called Pocket Guard. So Pocket Guard, like Mint Mobile app, the Mint Mobile app is free. It tells you what is in your pocket, meaning how much money you do have to spend, as in real time as your financial institutions conveyed those messages. So again, financial institutions are not necessarily giving you your expenses in real time unless you're actually using your physical debit card, not towards online payments. The spending chart on there is very nice. It's very easy to read, very easy to understand, and it's very easy to set up. So that's also a perk. Again, it does link to your bank accounts like most do, and it does allow for you to build in some goal setting. I believe with this one, you can also set up some alerts to tell you where you're at with your goals, whether you want to have a regular update on that or just maybe a weekly update. So when we're thinking about our budget, it's really important that you access what your budget should provide you. So you should be able to identify that. Your budget should definitely provide you with the ability to keep track of your spending. So it's definitely something that should be monitored at all times. Your budget should be able to tell you in real time how much you have left after you've listed out your expenses, either ingoing or outgoing. It should force you to make good money behaviors and build out discipline. As I mentioned at the beginning, your budget is your spending plan and your blueprint to your financial success. So it's going to tell you where you're doing a good job, meaning how your spending habits are in certain categories and where you might need a little bit of TLC in certain spending categories, meaning where you are spending too high and or if you are living above your means, which results in you having to borrow money. It provides you that accountability. So at the end of your budgeting audit, it will definitely tell you how you did, and it's based off of you. Everything that you're seeing written down are your actions and or spending habits that are taking place. It does provide you a barrier for overspending, especially if you become more disciplined and you figured out a rhythm that is going to work for you when it comes to keeping track and allocating the money where it belongs and making sure that you're not overspending in categories. And it does also help you achieve the savings goals that you need. This is a hard one for a lot of people to do, especially especially as life happens. If you do not have an appropriate savings vehicle or even budget spending plan, it's really hard to get back on track. One suggestion, and I'll leave you with a few more slides. We only have like 4 more, I promise, is get yourself an accountability partner. When it comes to an accountability partner, it really does, there's somebody there to hold you, to staying true to whatever goals you are setting for yourself. Maybe y'all might have different goals, but you have the same idea of, I want to save, I want to be able to build a financial future, I want to be able to feel like I am financially free from the burdens of having to pay my debts, from the burdens of having to worry about how I'm going to pay for this expense that I didn't plan for, from the burdens of having to worry about how I'm going to put food on the table. An accountability partner could potentially help you with that. A lot of these accountability partners could be either through an app and goals that you're setting for yourself, and then this app is reminding you of those goals. An accountability partner can actually be a person or your actual partner telling you where you all need to do better when it comes to your finances, or where you might need to buckle down, or where you can spend money. It's really important that you be open and honest about what you're trying to achieve and what you need from them. Is it daily check-ins? Is it maybe scheduling a budgeting date where you guys go for coffee and you're making sure that your checks and balances are working out in your favor? Be honest about your progress. It's not going to hurt anybody but yourself if you're not honest with your progress, especially if you are in that area where you might not want to divulge your that might mean that there is a check-in that you need to do with yourself and figure out how to get back on track and communicate that. When it comes to budgeting, building consistency obviously starts with you. Find the best method that works for you. Again, budgeting works in trial and error. You might not get it right the first, second, or even third time, but I can guarantee you, if you stay focused and motivated, you can definitely do what you want to do with your finances. Automate your savings. Make sure that you are paying yourself first, that should be a category of expenses, because it is saving towards something, your goal, whatever that is. Tailor you and your family's needs. Make sure that you are being realistic with whatever savings goals or budget that you're setting for yourself. Make it a goal, make it a fun goal with your family. Make sure that you're communicating this with your family when it comes to your house unit, what finances look like, what you can truly spend and allocate towards certain things. Children, especially at a young age, will start to mirror our spending habits as they get older. So make sure that you're aware of what little eyes are little eyes are looking at you when it comes to you going through the motions of paying your bills, or maybe not paying your bills and buying something else instead of focusing on your financial responsibilities. Make sure that you're being patient and you learn as you go. At Safe Credit Union, we are here to help you. Kurt and Fatima are here to help you when it comes to GIP. There are so many resources at your disposal when it comes to financial education. It's just a matter of looking for the right resources. So for those who are getting ready to become members of Safe Credit Union, thank you for your membership. Thank you for your potential membership. If you are on that journey, if you are interested in how to become a member outside of the 2 dates, tomorrow and on Saturday, if you're interested on how you can become a member, there are several different easy ways you can do that. You can either give us a call, you can click on our website, or visit one of our many branches where you can speak to a relationship officer in real time. In addition to the webinars that we present in the evening with GIP, we also present about 4 to 5 different types of webinars on different topics throughout the day, or throughout the month, that are at your disposal free of charge. You do not have to be a member to be able to utilize these services. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions. We have a few. Let's see. Oh, what's the name of the government credit place? So the website where you can pull, thank you, Kurt, you can pull from the 3 credit bureau agencies, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, is called annualcreditreport.gov. I went ahead and put that in the chat box for y'all to copy. Again, this is a service free of charge ran by the government where you can pull all 3 of your credit reports, I believe, every 7 days. That might have changed, but definitely after COVID, they allowed you to pull more often. Credit Karma is a really good resource as well. The only difference is that they pull from 2 of the 3 major credit bureaus, and although credit reports are similar, they are not identical. So if you are getting ready to borrow money or have a big financial shift, it's really important to get up to date with whatever is being reported on your credit reports, all 3 of them. All right, y'all. So it doesn't look like there are any questions. I will say thank you, everyone, for sticking with us. And Kurt, if we want to go ahead and close it out.
Outstanding. Okay, well, thank you, Miriam. Really appreciate, love hearing from you. And this is just great information. I hope all of you have learned some new things. And one of the things I just mentioned briefly in the chat, just because I know in talking with a good number of you that, you know, it's a struggle right now. And, you know, one of the things that we're hoping with this additional income is that it could be a fresh start to start to implement some of these percentages, some of these strategies, and see what progress you can make over this year. So just continue to reach out to both Fatima and I am really appreciative of Miriam and Safe Credit Union. There's some really great resources and partners here to help you be really successful over the whole course of your time in this program. So other than that, I don't think I see lots of other little questions are popping up. They might be related to our cohort 3 onboarding. And yes, I did remember hearing some people, I've heard a few people say, wait, if I come tonight, do I need to go to one of the Safe Credit Union events? Yes, those are separate from this. So please make sure you attend those events if you've signed up for them, because those are to open accounts. This is just a monthly webinar. And again, it should happen on or about, Miriam, if I'm correct, on the 2nd Monday of every month.
Yes, I believe so. Unless unless Kurt or Fatima communicates otherwise, that is the plan thus far.
Yeah, so put it in your calendar, and then we will make sure to forward those calendar invites from Safe Credit Union, where you can register for future webinars. And that is pretty much, I think, a wrap. I see lots of other questions. I just encourage you to shoot an email to us. And we are continuing to add. Lori, I'll answer your question, but not entirely. We still have to do another round or so to finish selecting 130 for cohort 3. But that'll be exciting. We're going to be up to 210 households in the Guaranteed Income Program working with Safe Credit Union. So let's call it a wrap and have a great evening. And we will talk to you and see you all next month.